taboo.
Hey everybody, you're very welcome to another show on Revenue Hacks in association with Rachel here on LinkedIn Live. I'm so excited for today. You have no idea, this is going to be absolutely crazy. We've been having great chats backstage this afternoon, and we look forward to giving you our bright ideas and just everything in the future about hospitality and where staycations are. As normal, I am Khristina Quigley, part of the Revenue Hacks crew here, and remember, stay interactive with us the whole way through today. Give us your ideas and your thoughts, and give us your feedback on the show, because you too can actually win a mug. We've been giving them away for quite some time. Poor Calvin hasn't got one just yet, so it's a little bit of a sore point for him, but sure, look, it is what it is. So we're going to go around the room, we're going to have a conversation, and we're going to do a quick introduction on who it is. So Calvin.
Hello, Calvin Tilokee, Revpar Problems on Instagram and CEO of Revpar Media.
And Thibault.
Right, my name is Thibault Catala, founder and managing director of a revenue management company based in London.
Sandra.
Hi, I'm Sandra Gannon. I've set up Revenue Puzzle last year, trying to share my 20-odd years of hospitality experience with the world, based in Ireland, but covering a couple of other countries as well.
Niels.
Hi, I'm Niels Mekenkamp. I'm with Cendyn. We do revenue management and CRM for hotels.
To my right, I don't know if it's my right or my left, but we've Marjorie.
Hi, I am Marjorie Sundstrom, and I'm the Senior Sales Manager at the Sparrow Hotel based in Stockholm, Sweden.
And last but not least, former Revenue Hacks panelist as well on a few times, Jonathon.
I'm Jonathon Liu. I lead the revenue and marketing strategy for GLH Hotels. We've got 18 boutique addresses, mainly focused in London.
Thank you so much. It's actually amazing to have everyone on screen today, for sure. And make sure that if you have any questions for our host, please put them in the comments box. We will get to them as best we can, because we are talking all about staycations today. In the background, we have conversation. Feels like a 70s nightclub. Wow, thanks.
It does. It does. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but this reminds me of the Brady Bunch, or like Hollywood Squares. You know, right now I'm center square, so leave it like this. I like this.
You can be Alice, though, right?
You know, before we get started, I do have to say, Niels, I just wanted to thank you for pronouncing Cendyn, because I never knew how to say it. If it was Cendyn or Cendyn. So now I know for sure. I didn't want to ask backstage. Let me wait for him to say it, so at least I'll know what's happening.
I love it.
A lot of people that get it wrong.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, I probably would have said something ridiculous anyway, so I'm better off leaving it to Niels to do, for sure. So let's crack on, because obviously we've got a lot to cover. We're talking about staycations, and obviously we've had a year to prepare for this. So if you were not prepared for staycations this year and you haven't learned any lessons, I don't know what 2020 brought you, but it certainly was a lot of banana bread then, for sure. So let's kick it off. I know I've been working quite hard in the background on staycation packages and just everything with the chains, the hotels in general. Jonathon, we'll jump to you first of all, because you have been kind of working in the same boat as what I have. It's very much all hands on deck. So what are you seeing are the trends for this year, or what are you hopeful the trends will be for this year versus last year?
Well, we've been working really closely, attracting new partners in each of our destinations and locations. So trying to really give people opportunity for a reason to come to London, whether it's working with galleries, whether it's working with river cruises and things like that. It's really important that we work as a destination to attract the right people.
I agree. And actually, Jonathon, you and I were on a call this week or last week where you mentioned that you guys had focused just solely on partnerships. So I thought it was very, very cool from a staycation perspective in trying to drive everything through social media. Marjorie, what are you doing differently? Because you were not in the UK and Ireland. So what is it exactly you were doing differently?
Yeah, exactly. Here in Sweden, we haven't had a lockdown as such. It's been we've been open for business all along since the beginning of COVID. And I think at the very beginning, we definitely saw a panic in the hotel industry. But then we started to see that, okay, there's not going to be, touch wood, there won't be a lockdown. And that people are still free to travel, and we can still get the staycation business. So what we have done differently is kind of looking right outside our doorstep rather than going to the international market. I mean, you still have to have your brand out there, but looking at the local Stockholmers, and also because we've got a great restaurant here with a great regular following, it's kind of bringing that extra revenue. Okay, have you got regular guests maybe in your restaurant that you could educate about the hotel to come for staycations, because people definitely want to celebrate right now. Anything that they can.
I agree. And I can see Thibault here shaking his head and Calvin shaking your head. So I'm dying to hear what you two guys have to say right now about this.
Yeah, I mean, for me, we have noticed a boom of staycation, mostly in areas close to nature and beaches. So okay, in Portugal, but as well on the countryside of the UK. So people they feel safer to travel closer to their place than overseas if they can. But I believe they crave this kind of local experience, free from the tourist, and is also an opportunity to revisit your own city. I believe the biggest trigger for staycation will be the reopening of museum, theater, and any kind of attraction. Jonathon mentioned, I think it's the biggest trigger for staycation. And then being creative as much as possible. So for us, for example, in Amsterdam, we have been focusing mostly on the domestic. We have seen a market which has been booming for the couples and the families. And we have seen like packages such as free parking, because people are traveling by car mostly rather than a plane, of course. So focusing on relaxed packages with like a spa experience, or birthday packages, as you mentioned, Marjorie, people want to celebrate as well. And one which has been like a very success was a film deal, when we offer the opportunity to families to stream their own movies with popcorn and candies in the room. So any kind of local experience, being creative, see what is working, see what is not, and change and adapt. But I think there's a big opportunity here.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have too much to add to that. I think it's perfect. What I was nodding my head to what Marjorie was saying is really paying attention to your guests. You know, I think we overlook something as simple as having a conversation at check-in or in the restaurant, where you guys coming from, and tapping into that, and just feeding more into those markets. If you're having people driving in from an hour away, try to figure out what's bringing them there. Are they coming in just to stay, just to get out of the house? Are they coming in, like Thibault said, for a theater or a movie, something? As just simply asking questions. I think sometimes we think too big. It's just as simple as talking to the people who are there.
Definitely.
Sandra, what are you recommending, or what are you seeing for people this year? Sorry, Marjorie.
I totally agree with Calvin. It's the conversation with the guests you are attracting, or even the guests who are trying to book, to find out why they've chosen you, why they've chosen your area. Because I think we're definitely moving away from the traditional segmentation of whatever transients, leisure, corporates. It's now within the leisure markets trying to understand which segments can we target and why are they coming. And again, it's certainly in Ireland, you see a very much divide between the coastal areas, which has started to pick up really, really well for the summer. Even Ireland hasn't got dates yet, whereas the city centre, I think, will be a lot longer to build up. But again, it's trying to find out, why would guests come back into town, into Dublin, or why are guests going to the coastal areas? And it's that conversation Calvin was mentioning. It's the human interaction of asking the simple question.
Absolutely.
But I think one of the things that we see is a lot of leisure hotels. They were set up for staycations, and they knew what to expect with their guests.
Yeah.
But a lot of business hotels sort of underestimated it, and things that I heard over and over again is car parking space not enough. Things like the room facilities where people have a desk, but they don't have anywhere to sit. So if you have a staycation, you want to have a table and chairs, and you want to be able to spend some time in the room. So it's not just enticing people to come, but it's also ensuring that you have those facilities available. Because you saw some of the business hotels, the TripAdvisor reviews plummeted because of the fact that you had leisure guests coming to business hotels, and they simply weren't set up for it. So advice that I was giving was like try to get some entertainment in, have like a fitness instructor do fitness programs on a daily basis, or if you have a pool, have someone come in to do pool instruction, just to keep people entertained, because that's what they expect in a leisure destination. So it's very different.
Now, Marjorie, you're trying to say something.
Sorry.
No, it's grand. No, I definitely think that in Sweden we've seen the same patterns here as well. That now it's a midterm break for all the Stockholmers at the moment, and we're seeing all the ski hotels and ski resorts are fully booked at the moment, or as booked as they can be. And going back to what Jonathon said at the beginning there, it's working on, for city hotels to work on the destination. How are we going to get people back into the cities? Why would you go on a staycation, for example, now in Stockholm, when the theme parks are closed or the museums and galleries are closed? So it's all about being creative of what you can offer yourselves as a kind of a staycation to check in and nestle up, or once you start to work together with your partners and the destination, working towards the summertime when hopefully restrictions can be lifted as well.
I agree, and that's a really hard thing to do, especially when, you know, the hotel industry is going to open, but the leisure side of a hotel isn't going to open until further on within the month. And that's kind of a theme that we're seeing across all lockdown areas and all countries that have had lockdown. We had an interesting question from Lee Woolard. Do you feel the word staycation is still popular? I think staycation is done to death. I just think it's our tourism boards that's using it. It's revenge travel and freedom. That's what it is. For
But
me,
I think-
anyway.
I think-
Tell me what you guys think.
I think
Please just get out.
But I think a good couple of comments came in there, like Sparcation, Gourmetcation, and I think that's kind of the niche markets. Everybody needs to kind of sit back and go, okay, what can I offer differently? Yeah, Staycation is the big umbrella name as such, but it's going to be the segmentation of the various offers. What do you have? What can you offer? How can you combine your facilities with the area you're advertising? And I think one buzzword came out after Staycation last year, which was Daycation. So it's the day out. And again, what can the hotels offer for people who just want to get out for a day? What can they combine? And there's not a lot of hotels who actually sell just a day package on their websites. It's always the bedroom. And I think the mentality has to change of, I'm selling my total hotel rather than just my bedroom. It's I need to look at what gets my customers in rather than the traditional bedroom. And then I add a little bit of breakfast, I add a little bit of dinner to it. It's completely revisiting the concepts, I think.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Sandra, because and it will actually go in the direction of Sundstrom, meaning like okay, first staycation is like, people ask me like, okay, what do I do if I want to tap into the staycation market? Should I do like a staycation package? Not really. Actually, you should do like different packages where people are incentive to come to your hotel, so being spa, families, and so on. And it's all start by having the right data and understanding your guest. And it all starts with your CRM, and most of people don't have a CRM, so it's very important to collect the data correctly to understand what is driving the demand at the moment. And then you can kind of tap into staycation by having those creative packages.
And some of that data that you have in your CRM, it can be really, really valuable. Things like anniversary dates and birth dates. And we all missed our birthday last year. We didn't get to celebrate it with everyone that we wanted to. So to go out to your customers and say, we missed you last year, come back this year, it's a really powerful message to get people engaged with your brand.
Yeah.
If you're not tracking this information, this is old school information to be tracking. You need to start doing it. Jonathon has such a good point, because you know what? I think hotels have stopped it, because this whole, you know, everyone uses the magical words GDPR, and that just scares everyone. And I think it's an excuse for hoteliers not to do it anymore and not to give 110%. By the way, I really firmly believe the reason we're in lockdown is because I had a lockdown birthday last year, and I actually wished every day that everybody else would have a lockdown birthday.
So we blame you.
So you can blame me for sure on that one. When it comes to staycations, you know, last year was quite tough, especially for London hotels. Anyone who works in London or cities, you know, you understand how tough it was, because it's a concrete jungle. People see your area as a concrete jungle. So what are you guys doing differently this year to promote your cities and your property, and how spacious it is? Because in Ireland, we've seen a huge increase in people booking larger rooms. Yeah. And if you're a small property, or a boutique hotel, you don't have that luxury. So what would you guys recommend you do, or what are you doing differently?
We're rewriting a lot of our content at the moment. So before, where you'd talk about being close to a tube stop or something like that, we're now talking about across the road from Hyde Park or right on the River Thames, and really focusing on those areas of outdoors and fresh air and those sorts of things. So refreshing your content is so important to make sure that you're giving your best self forward to the customer.
Yeah,
I
I think it's also important not to, because everybody's rewriting things. But I think, if you look at some of the indicators, today being announced that we might see earlier lifting of restrictions because of the success of the vaccinations. Biden saying that he hopes to vaccinate all adult Americans by the end of May. I mean, that's a short period away, and and then we see the airlines coming with their passport, their travel pass app that they want to introduce, so you can actually track your vaccination. So we actually might see international travel starting sooner than we think, and so it's staycations is great, but I think you always need to open your options, and I think that's one of the important things at the moment is to be flexible and to be on your toes, so that you can actually anticipate what is coming and react and respond to what's coming.
Marjorie, are you doing anything different from last year?
Go ahead.
Sorry, go on, Thibault. Before Marjorie
No,
gets a chance to answer, go on, you jump in.
Yeah, I jump on this one. I really like the keywords content, and I think it has been like one of the main keywords for 2020, 2019, and for this 2021 again. All about maybe shifting and being agile on your tactics and your strategy, and react as you see the different movements. But content is key for your SEO, is key for communication via email, marketing via emails, making a big comeback in 2021, I believe, and then continue making sure your brand is visible online, on social media, on your website. But content, if you have one keyword to come back after this webinar, is content 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Marjorie.
I just think also going back to what we said about CRMs as well, it's if you can look back at who stayed at your hotel last summer and see who reevaluate who your market is now from the staycation business and why they stayed with you, then you can create a much more guest loyalty as well from the staycationers, which will also in turn, what we've seen is a bit of a trend with a mix of business and leisure. So maybe that you stay on a Sunday night, check in on a Sunday night, and then work from the hotel on a Monday. So these staycationers can actually grow into your business travelers later on down the line as well, which is also it's looking at your brand loyalty.
We are getting, actually, funny enough, you mentioned brand loyalty, because we're getting a lot of questions in at the moment. Olga, previous Revenue Hacks person, thank you so much for all the feedback that you're putting in about London being driven by retail, concerts, and theatres. It's so true. If these aren't open, no one's going to be doing well. We did have a question there from Ronald, who actually said, if you're focusing on staycations, what becomes the most important to get customers returning to you? Is it by loyalty programs, regressive pricing, or buy one get one free, or some sort of special offer? Who wants to take this answer?
Well, what we're doing is doing lots of testing, lots and lots of testing, putting different things out on different channels and just looking at the data. Who's reacting? Are we driving traffic, and then are we driving that conversion? I don't think there's a magic bullet to anything, but you need to keep testing, and that should be just the mentality of the business.
So actually, talking about testing, because people forget to test. How long are you running your test for? Just give people an idea and how long you're running for, because again, we all had this conversation. Knee-jerk reactions can stop this.
Well, we've been doing 3 to 4 weeks if we've got enough data. At some points where we weren't seeing the traffic, we would extend it further just to sort of see what was happening. But if you've got the right tools in place, particularly if you're spending on digital media and things like that, you should be able to get a result fairly quickly.
But I think one of the things that Roland is saying is regressive pricing, buy one get one free. I think pricing is a very dangerous thing, and I think one of the things that we've seen a lot of price drops and hotels dropping rates, and I think that's the wrong thing to do. It's also the wrong message to send, because people are looking for safety. People are looking for the feeling of that the hotel is taking care of them. And if you then drop your rates, it doesn't send the right message. I think, CRM is a key point here. Obviously, we have a CRM, but being able to message and send the right message to the right target audience and narrow down that target audience and offer the packages that you feel that target audience or best fits that target audience, that is important, because we often see that wide net approach. And MailChimp is a great tool, but you can't filter down into your target audience very well.
I totally agree with you that it's so important that you target your messaging or your offers by the target audience. There's no point of sending a family offer to somebody who actually doesn't have a family, and you lose them completely, because it basically shows a blank approach, that you don't look at your information you're getting from the customers, you don't segment, you don't target. If it's a blank approach, I think you lost the customers already.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Emily's question. Emily has a really good question, and it's something we've been pushing on Revenue Hacks for a very long time. And Jonathon and I actually took something else different last week about this particular thing. How do you feel about using social media in terms of increasing sales rather than focusing on OTAs? If you're not doing this already, there's something seriously wrong with you and your strategy, because it doesn't cost anything to do it through social media. Everyone is bored out of their tree. They're sitting scrolling for a lot longer. I looked at my phone. I seen I had something ridiculous, like 12 hours out of the day over the weekends, actually on my phone. I was like, what? So, guys, what do you think about this? Calvin, especially, I'm quite interested to hear what you think about it, especially in the States.
Yeah, I got excited when I saw this question pop up. So you guys can go on mute. I'll take the rest of the episode. Just kidding. No, I mean, obviously, this is something I'm passionate about, with my agency. I don't think hotels do a good enough job of using social media as a revenue stream. I mean, you've got thousands of people that are sitting there on your Instagram page, Facebook, whatever it is. And really, it's such a great opportunity to build an authentic connection. And I think that's kind of what everybody's touched on this panel so far, is that, I think sometimes we think too macro, we overcomplicate things. Really, it's just about figuring out who your customer is and giving them what they want. And there's no better way to do that than on social media, because you have real authentic conversations. People expect that to be a little bit different than your website. They expect your website to be very pretty and curated, but similar to how people go on TripAdvisor to get the, real answers, that's why they go on social media. They want to see what other people are saying about your hotel. And it's a great way to give more behind the scenes type of things. One of the things I always suggest to my hotel clients is start talking about the people at the hotel. Talk about your staff. Especially now, everybody has a story. Everybody has a story about how they're dealing with the pandemic. And, you might have one person that's working 2 different departments at the hotel right now. They'll check you in and they'll clean your room, for example. You want to talk about these things because they're real people. And the key word is being relatable. And that's what attracts people to you.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Who else wants to take this? Oh, Niels is about to talk.
No, I was just, the only thing I was going to add is, social media is great, but, don't focus on social media solely. It needs to be part of your total digital marketing strategy, right? And one of the things that's extremely important when it comes to social media and digital marketing is that testing, as you already said, Jonathon. It's testing to see if something works, and don't be afraid to bin it. If you are doing Facebook advertising and it doesn't work, bin it and move on to something else. But don't try and make it work, and don't spend too much time trying to make it work.
I think what's interesting is that you just mentioned there, Niels, about not focusing all of your money into social media. I would actually put it all into social media. I actually would, because I still do Google, and I love the way Thibault literally shaking his head saying no, I love it. Go on.
I mean,
I say yes.
I think it's very easy to get and forget my language, to get distracted by social media sometimes, because you can see like you will invest time on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever you have on social media. The ROI can be great or not, but you need to get tested. For me, I recommend to start testing and remain focused on only 3 different channels. So if you have like content and SEO, 1, email marketing 2, and then decide on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. But don't try to do everything at the same time. People are limited in cash, are limited in talent nowadays as well. So they don't have much time and resources to get to go everywhere. And for me, I'm a big fan of the Pareto principle, the 80-20. And I believe you should focus on the 20% channels which are delivering 80% of the results. So see what is working for you, and something which is working for the neighbor may not be working for you. Find out what is working for you and focus on this one 100%. I think that would be my main key takeaway.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I mean. I've seen too many hotels try to focus on that social media and try to focus on Instagram and Facebook, etc., and it's not working for them. And either they're doing something wrong, and if they're doing something wrong and they don't know what they're doing wrong, then it's better to stop it, or you get an agency involved
or just call me.
Yeah, exactly.
No, seriously, I'm sorry to interrupt, but no, it's true, because I think it's not that it's not working, is you're trying to do it the same way you've done everything else. Exactly. But yeah, I'll let you finish. Sorry.
No, that's exactly what I mean. It's and that's why I said get an agency involved, because as a hotelier you often don't have the expertise to do it. Right, and you don't have the knowledge how to best engage with social audiences. And I think sometimes it's better to say, okay, let's take my budget and give it to an agency and let them manage it and let them try and be successful for me. That sometimes, maybe it's a little bit more expensive, but at the same time, if it brings you back the results, it's the right approach.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm loving Melissa Jones right now. Good morning, Melissa. Thank you so much for joining us. Melissa's tuned in for North America, and she's really being a Khristina on everything. She's pretty much saying, that you actually do need, if you're relying on OTAs, you don't know your customers. So true. Yeah. I love that. That is so true. And it's about winning your customers from the OTAs. Marjorie, I have a question for you. You deal with sales and marketing for your group. Are you guys a TikTok company or not?
No, we haven't ventured into the world of TikTok.
So, and again, this is all to do with the social media before we go on to any of the questions for everybody else. Guys, quick yes or no. Do you think hotels belong on TikTok right now?
Depends on your customer base.
Exactly.
Yeah, it depends. If your customers are using it, then you have to be aware of what they're saying.
But like, are your teams going to do funny dances on TikTok?
It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a dance. I mean, Gordon Ramsay's on TikTok, right? He's not dancing.
Every time, I can tell you, it's not going to cut it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you probably don't want to do that for your hotel, but there's so many different ways to do it. I mean, the TikTok dances, obviously that's what's made it a popular platform. And if that's your demographic and you can do that, then that's probably where you'll see the most success, admittedly. But that doesn't mean you can't do it in other ways.
Yeah. Question, Lee Woodward again. Well, I'll just come in with another question. We find that the ROI from social media ads is higher than the ROI from OTAs. Any thoughts?
Yeah, because you can target who you want to go after, and it's more authentic. So you can follow back your followers on social media and see what they're about, see what they're interested in. That's going to be way more targeted than what you can do with OTAs. Absolutely.
Or do you quantify the ROI on social media actually? Did you get my point? Or do you quantify the ROI from the social media? It's great for awareness, but it's hard to quantify. That's my point.
Well, it certainly can be. I think what you want to do is you want to set up special packages and rate codes through your social media. So, for example, on Instagram, have that in your bio, right? If you click here, they're being driven to a specific rate code. So that's how you track it and, track your conversions. But you can look in through the analytics as far as, click-through rates and everything else that you get with a lot of the email marketing. And, to go back to the point you were making earlier, and also Khristina touched on this, we're all on our phones now. I mean, obviously I spend a lot of time on social media because of what I do, but I still have an AOL email address for email marketing that I don't open, right? So when I'm at the store and they say, hey, give me your email, you're getting AOL from 1996, and it's just going there. I'm never looking at it. Maybe if in the unique point where, oh, it's flowers, you know, and my anniversary's coming up. Okay, I'll probably open that one, but then see you next year.
I love how you say that, because next week we are going to be touching on that. So if you're watching today, we're going to be focusing all on digital media, social media, taglines, everything next week. And we're going to cover that because I have very strong views about email marketing. Huge. And I know Suzanne, who's going to be joining us, ex-Revenue Hacks, works with One Journey. She would kill me for it, but I'm in the boat with Calvin for sure. Avalon has a good question. She's wondering, what are hoteliers doing differently this year for the domestic market compared to what they were doing pre-COVID for the same staycation destination? So again, you know what? I'm going to put it out there. Johnson's probably going to agree with me or not agree with me. In London and in Dublin, and Sandra would be the same, we didn't care about domestic people.
No.
You only pay 200 quid a night for a concert. We didn't care because we were going to make money off the international market. And we had some bitter pills to swallow in the last 3 years in particular, but the last year for sure. Because people don't forget paying 200 quid a night for a small room and having to pay extra for breakfast and having to pay extra for this, that, and the other, and parking and everything on top of it. You know, their memories are short-lived. So what are hoteliers doing differently this year compared to last year or even previous years? And I want to start with Marjorie on this because Marjorie is working in a complete different market who didn't have a lockdown. So we can actually learn a lot from Sweden, for sure.
Definitely. I think looking back at last summer, we did just kind of see that Stockholm was, as a city destination, it wasn't popular compared to the more country destinations, and being out in the countryside was more popular during COVID times. And so it is looking at the summertime. Okay, what is going to happen? How is Stockholm going to be a destination for staycationers this summer, and what can we do to maybe even, you know, allow our guests to explore Stockholm, and why they would even explore Stockholm, what hidden gems there are that locals wouldn't even know about. And it's also staying true to your brand as well. So we saw, for example, on Valentine's Day, there was a huge pickup for couples because we're we market ourselves as Paris in the heart of Stockholm. So it's a very romantic hotel, and therefore we stay true to our brand for the summertime, that it is more staycationers, for couples, for date nights, getting a break from the kids, that kind of thing, and really doing what you're good at and not trying to venture into something else that perhaps would just dilute your brand. What do you guys think?
I love that. I love how you say you're Paris of Sweden, by the way. For sure, I really do. And I want to hear what the audience are thinking as well. What are you guys doing differently this year, for sure, compared to last year? What have you learned? Jonathon, what did you learn? Because I'm sorry, I always look at you and I always think you're a guru when it comes to this.
I think you have to be generous. I mean, previously you give a late checkout of 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. Why not make it 7 p.m. or 8 p.m.? You're not going to use that room because you're not going to be full. The more that you can be generous with upgrades, with those little wow factors, it really has an impact on people. So make the experience while they're at your hotel as best it possibly can be. And that then will attract a second visit and further visits, or even advocating for your hotel to other guests who can come and join you.
I agree with Jonathon there. I think it's the value adds, which is a big part moving forward. But also, I mean, you were mentioning Dublin, and we made money out of certain events, concerts, games, whatever. I think it's highlighting why you should come to Dublin or to a city centre, the hidden secrets of a city centre. And I think resort hotels or places who always had a domestic market, I think it's highlighting activities more and more, whereas before it might have been in a little small print of going, oh, you can go to this park and there's those walks around. I think that's going to become one of the main messages of why you're going there.
Thibault, what are you guys doing differently? Are your properties, because you consult with properties, so you don't actually, you're not sitting there all the time. So what are you recommending to your properties to do? Let us tap into your little brain.
I mean, for us, it's mostly about, as you mentioned, creating the right packages, the right value-added packages to make sure we focus on those kind of demand generation. But as well, we have seen some shift into the trend where we also focus on the special rate to local heroes, for example, for the key workers, not only the leisure one, but as well the one all pressure, because people who have been working quite hard at the hospital, but also need a kind of a staycation. So like a special rate to local heroes who are fighting the COVID-19 war. That's kind of one which we have been implementing. The working from home, working from hotel, that's a new one as well, which we have seen increasing. I was itching to get out of my home because my kids was running around everywhere. So I think like there's a big market for this. And then you have one which I believe could be also a way to increase the demand, is offering a performance-based incentive for such as overriding the commission slowly before you jump on me for incremental business to travel agent and advisor, because hotel have been hurt as well, but travel agent and all those companies as well have been also very hurt. And locally, I believe like all together we can bounce back. And before we move to the next one, for me, you see like on the news we have heard about the staycation booming in the UK after the announcement and so on, saying like plus 56, plus 300% in TUI and so on. In my honest opinion, or my own opinion, I believe it's fake news. I believe it's only like, okay, 400% of, I think it's 400% of, first of all, of 0 to 1 absolute number, which is like, okay, 300%, but instead of having 2 room nights, you have 6. Wow, super. And then people are pushing the news on this kind of boom, meaning like they want to increase the confidence in the market, but in a real absolute number, we don't see it in the market. So I'm sorry.
Okay,
I want to be the party pooper of today, but yeah, I'm just like straightforward.
No, thank you. You've actually just, I'm being honest with you, if there is owners on this call looking at us, or commercial directors, or CFOs, or CEOs, I don't care who you are, if you own a hotel, don't believe everything you see that's either in a WhatsApp group with all hoteliers or across the media. They're only trying to share the good news story. Simple as. Yesterday, I spoke to a few different people, and STR is saying the same thing. They're not expecting an uplift in London hotels at all for staycations, except for June, July, and August, and it will be very short-lived, 3 days to a week out. Simple. No one is pre-planning. So if you have a property in London or in a city centre, be aware of this.
Yes.
And 300% was noted this week for a particular hotel chain across the UK as an increase. That's only 3 bookings on 0. Listen to Thibault, listen to your revenue people, listen to your commercial managers, because these are the people that are telling the truth and able to gauge. You know, you pay people like this for a reason. You know, don't believe everything that your neighbors are saying, because we all know it's not true. I could tell you I lost 3 stone during lockdown. You all know my Instagram page. That has not happened. You know, but it is one of these things, and I think for sure when it comes to staycations, you know, people need to be very mindful. Like for me, I actually work with multiple brands, and we're actually starting to roll out complimentary kids meals with adults as part of the package. So what we're doing is we're trying to target families that would never stay in our properties, but we're going to throw in kids meals for free once the adults pay for the dinners, to try and optimize revenue on both sides. And then again, winter is coming, so you'll have some winter staycation still. People will still want to get away. Free hot chocolates. What's stopping you? It costs you nothing. You know, and John, I can just hear when Jonathon said give a free late checkout, you know, until 7 o'clock. I could just hear people standing at reception going, yes, but the GM crying, going, I'm losing revenue.
But it's totally natural. People want to get value. They want to get the little bits of extra. What's going to cost you the late checkout if you don't sell the room, as Thibault was saying? What does a pot of hot chocolate cost? If you could look down at the cost, it's more getting the people in, getting the awareness, getting the whole cycle started again, where we don't have empty hotels anymore. Yes, we're having busy hotels, and we give a little bit of free, but it's the value add. And one question was earlier on asked in terms of, is it going to be price? Is it going to be safety? I think it's a combination of all of it. But at the end of the day, people still going to compare it to a foreign holiday. So they still want to get the best value they can get for a break. It's up to them to decide where it's going to be. But I think overall, they're going to look at the overall value package as such, if you want to call it that.
Okay, I have a great question before we move on, because there's someone after putting a note down here, like pay 50% now and stay in future. All right. And again, this brings us back to WhatsApp groups. I was in a WhatsApp group last week and they were actually complaining that there was no advanced purchase available. What are the audience, right? So I want to hear, first of all, what is the audience's thoughts on advanced purchase? Are you happy to prepay for a room anymore? Yes or no? Or do you want a flexible advanced purchase? Or is advanced purchase dead? Because in my eyes, AP is gone. I don't, you can't have a flexible AP because you're still going to have people argue with you, even if you charge them right after the cutoff point. Niels, I can see you shaking your head and you're going,
I totally agree with you. I think people are not willing to pay ahead. They're not willing to pay now. And I think I understand that you're trying to generate cash flow now, but it doesn't, it's going to hurt you later on. It might help you a little bit now, but I think it doesn't weigh out. The rewards are not there. You're not going to see a pickup because of advanced purchase, and people are very reluctant to do it at the moment. So unless you're trying to help local retailers and maybe local hotels, there might be some pickup there, but I don't see the real value in it. No.
I'm going to completely disagree because I've sold close to 3,000 room nights last week on advanced purchase in London.
What is your secret?
Well, what we're doing is we're offering flexibility. So yes, you pay up front for a cheaper, but people want flexibility, and that's what we're going to give them. So if they want to move their dates, sure. If they want to cancel 2 days out, that's fine. We'll do the refund. But we're putting it for a very limited time, and we're focusing on that summer period. And I think getting that right message and talking about flexibility is really important, because that's what people want. They're still going to, people have been saving, people aren't spending as much as they have before. So yeah, put something on the credit card, pay up front. But if I've got that flexibility and I can do something about it later, then I feel safe with making that purchase.
If it's refundable,
yeah. Thibault, you're shaking your head.
No, I agree. I mean, we didn't see much of the advanced purchase, but I believe what Jonathon is saying, to have a semi-non-refundable rate, it's kind of the way to go. Meaning like it's a non-ref, so you have the advantage of the non-ref being the discount. Yes, you need to pay in advance, but in case something happened and you can justify it and you can prove it, then we will refund it. And it's kind of the mix of having the advantages of the non-ref, but having some to prepay and deposit in advance. So yeah, just a balance. I think it's the right one.
I think it's communication. So
but that's the problem. I was just trying to say it's the communication point of it, because for me, what puts me off this whole AP thing is the fact that, a lot of people, someone's just after saying there that they're locked into it in North America when it's AP.
Yeah.
But for me, there's a lot of mixed messaging with it. So I can be offering semi-flex, but a big OTA, which I'm not going to name out there, but we all know, can go and change that into completely non-refundable. And that just makes it even worse for the customer. And then I'm the bad person if I don't give it back as a refund, because the big player is after promising the guest a refund, even though it's not within their terms and conditions. And that is something huge that we faced globally this year and last year. And it's that social media effect that happens, because again, now more than ever, if we take to social media, we know the company is going to bow down to us. So, your reputation online becomes hindered by this when there's reviews put up about it. And I understand the whole semi-flex, but it just takes that one person to leave a job for it all to go pear-shaped.
We've also had it just very driven from OTAs, because we had advanced purchase until the OTAs decided to offer more flexible and kind of almost force hotels into that. So we had to be driven through that, because we're a new brand. We still had to have that partnership there, and we have to have a price parity of what's on OTAs compared to what's on our website. So that kind of killed the advanced purchase for us.
But Jonathon, maybe a question for you, because you said you were very successful, and who was it? Lee Woolard, he also said that they were very successful in it. But do you keep that money separate? Because in the end, if it's refundable, then that's something that you run the risk that you have to refund it at a later stage. So how do you manage those funds?
Well, we're factoring into our cash flow forecast. So I have my revenue forecast sitting on one side, and then my cash flow forecast on the other, which then separates and basically highlights that risk in the forecast of potential refunds. And that allows us to plan ahead and then also put in other promotions and things where we know there's potentially a greater risk when we need to fill up that gap.
We had a really good question from Fast before we finish up, because we are almost out of time. What is the value proposition versus a customer for refundable advance purchase versus bar, apart from obviously the cheaper rate? What is the value proposition for the guest to book it, Jonathon?
It's how you wrap it up and message it. I think by having an easy way to modify the booking, if it's prepaid, that's really important. You have to factor in the whole customer journey. If you're going to make it difficult for someone to get a refund or make that change, then they're not going to buy that AP. So you have to think about the entire customer journey to make sure that you can get that right booking.
I would say the main one is a cheaper rate. It was in the question and in the answer. But you just like to have the cheaper rate with the condition of having the flexibility to get reimbursed or to postpone your stay if there's anything wrong. So still the cheaper rate is still the main advantage in my opinion.
Ladies, what are your thoughts on this?
I think as long as it's easy to change and modify, if it is a fact of you have to call the hotel or you have to email the hotel but you can't do it yourself, I think that would put somebody off. If you can't find a modification button or the system then goes, oh well, no, you're already prepaid, so I can't let you change it. I think as long as it's easy to do, I think you can sell it. The minute you say, oh well, you have to call us or email us to change it, I think people will go, well, not really going to be interested because it's just more hassle.
It's a bit like the Groupon vouchers, isn't it? Where you actually see that voucher sales in general, right? You'll quite often see that vouchers are not used, so you get the revenues, and in the end, although it might be a very cheap rate, because of the fact that 50% of the vouchers are not used, it turns out to be quite profitable.
But that's what we have with, okay, let's say you have an advanced purchase and people decide they want to cancel. So most of the hotel, what they do, they don't reimburse, they just postpone and they give kind of a voucher for future stays. So you end up, like in 2020, we have ended up with a huge bunch of vouchers for guests who have postponed from 2020 to 2021 and may as well postpone to 2021 to 2022 again. But those advanced purchase are just changing into advanced purchase deposit to vouchers to be used in the future.
It's a great idea.
That's thinking like airlines as well.
But that's it. Oh my God, who would have thought? Hotels actually function like airlines now, but they still haven't thought that just yet. You know, it just doesn't. And you know
Is
what?
that the way it started?
We have a call. So we actually have a revenue hacks coming up in a few weeks' time about attribute pricing, which again just goes to show how the airline industry is always shaping revenue management. You know, it is. It's always shaping how it goes. And it's something I'm really excited for. Everyone, I'd like to thank you so much for joining today. It was absolutely amazing having everyone on the call. There's been times where we were all very polite and not talking over each other, and then there was times where we were actually jumping at each other's throats to be able to get a word in. So it was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. Next week on the show, we're going to be talking all about social media, digital taglines, e-signs, email marketing, everything. We actually have BCV on, which is a rate game company in the US. We also have Dermot Hurley, who actually is working in Corinthia Hotels in Malta, and we have Suzanne from One Journey joining us, ex-revenue hackers, and Calvin is just going to take over next week. I can't wait because this is his area. This is his specialty for sure.
I'm excited.
Can't wait for sure. I just want to say big, huge congrats to Olga. Olga, you have won the Revenue Hacks mug. You obviously were part of the team for quite some time, and congratulations again. So thank you so much for joining us. From me and absolutely everybody else, see you next week.
Thanks, guys.